The last visitor left an hour ago. You heard the great front doors close, the iron bolts drawn across, the footsteps of the night watchman fading down the outer steps, and then nothing. Simply the building, simply you inside it, and the silence that a very old building settles into when the people have gone, and the stone and the timber and the ancient things held within the cases and on the shelves and in the long stone corridors are left to be what they are without any witness. Which is old, which is older than anything you will encounter outside these walls tonight. You are still. You do not need to go anywhere. The museum has closed around you, and the night is outside, and everything that matters for the next several hours is already here, in these stone corridors, in these high-ceilinged rooms where the moonlight is beginning to find its way through the tall windows and fall across the old cases and the ancient things inside them. In the deep quiet of a building that has been holding the past inside its walls for longer than anyone alive can account for. If this story brought you peace tonight, subscribe to Medieval Sleep Tales. New sleep stories are waiting for you there. Sit with the quiet for a moment. Not the quiet of an empty room, the quiet of a full room from which the noise has been removed. Every artifact in this building is still here. Every ancient thing. The stone faces in the sarcophagus room down the long corridor. The old manuscripts behind their glass. The medieval armor standing in the corners of the great hall. The ancient maps. The Roman coins. The fragments of old writing on old stone. All of it here. All of it more present, perhaps in the dark, than it was in the light of the visiting hours. As if the ancient things breathe differently when no one is looking at them. As if they have been waiting for this hour. Feel where your body is carrying the day. Not to fix it, simply to know it. The neck, perhaps, the place between the shoulder blades, the jaw held slightly tighter than it needs to be, the eyes that have been working since morning and have been given permission to stop and have not yet believed the permission. Notice these places. They will release. The museum will see to that. Old stone and old silence, and the particular quality of air that ancient things give to the rooms that hold them, have been doing this work since the first artifact was placed in the first case in this building, and will be doing it long after tonight. Breathe in the cool stone air of the ancient corridor. Breathe out. The silence settles deeper into the old building. Breathe in. The moonlight is moving across the stone floor toward you. Breathe out. The sarcophagus room is waiting at the end of the corridor. You already know the way. You have always known the way. The building has changed, not in any way you could point to. The stone corridors are the same stone corridors they were an hour ago when the last visitors were moving through them. The display cases hold the same ancient things. The same carved stone faces look out from the sarcophagus room at the end of the long corridor. The same high-ceilinged rooms open one into the other through their wide stone archways. Nothing is moved. Nothing has been added or removed. And yet, the building is different when it is empty. Anyone who has ever been alone in a very old building after the people have left will know this. The quality of the silence is different. Not the silence of a room between conversations. Something older than that. The silence of stone that has been standing for centuries and has outlasted every voice that was ever raised within it, and will outlast every voice still to come. That silence. The silence that was here before the building was built, and will be here after it is gone. Simply briefly interrupted by the visiting hours, and now returned. You are standing in the main corridor. The long stone corridor that runs the length of the building from the great entrance hall at one end to the sarcophagus room at the other. The floor beneath you old stone flags, worn pale in the center where feet have traveled this corridor since the building first opened its doors, and dark at the edges where the feet have not reached. The ceiling above high enough that the tallow candle in your hand does not illuminate it. Simply darkness above, and the stone walls on either side, and the corridor extending ahead of you into the deeper dark beyond the reach of your small flame. The tallow candle was on the old iron shelf beside the caretaker's door, left there for exactly this. For the hour after closing, when whoever remains needs to find their way through the dark, building without disturbing the ancient things inside it. The iron holder worn smooth from the hands of everyone who has taken it from that shelf before you on every previous closing night. The tallow inside it fresh. Someone who understood this building put a fresh candle there this morning, knowing that tonight would need it. Walk slowly. There is no other pace appropriate for this corridor at this hour. The old stone flags require it. The display cases on either side require it. The ancient things inside those cases require it most of all. Objects that have survived thousands of years of history have not done so by being rushed past. They require the pace of something that understands that time moves differently in the presence of very old things. Slower, more honestly, at the speed of what actually matters, rather than the speed of what merely feels urgent. The moonlight is beginning to enter the building. coming through the high arched windows on the east side of the corridor. The moon having risen high enough now to clear the old stone roof line of the building across the courtyard and send its light through the glass. The light arriving in long pale rectangles on the stone floor, cold and precise. Each rectangle the exact shape of the window above it, but inverted, lying on the floor, silver and still. You step through the first one, and your shadow appears beside you for the first time since you entered the dark corridor, sharp and long and following you across the pale stone. Stop at the first display case, the old oak case, its glass top reflecting the moonlight from the window, beside it in a long silver smear across the surface. Beneath the glass the ancient things. You have seen these objects in daylight, perhaps. In the light of the visiting hours with other people nearby, and the sounds of the building full of life around you. Now look at them in the moonlight, through the old glass, in the silence of the closed museum at night. They are different. The Roman coins, small and dark and worn almost smooth. The profile of an emperor, on each one barely visible, now after 2,000 years of handling. These coins were in the hands of people who are dust, passed between fingers that became Earth centuries before this building existed, carried in pouches on roads that are now buried under other roads, and here they are, under old glass, in the moonlight, completely indifferent to the strangeness of their own survival. The candle flame bends slightly, a movement in the air of the corridor, not a draft exactly. The particular movement of air in a very old building at night, when the temperature outside begins to drop and the stone of the walls breathes the difference. Ancient buildings breathe. The old builders knew this, built for it, left the gaps that allow it. The air moving now in the corridor is the building breathing the night air, taking it in through the old joints and the ancient mortar gaps and the places where the stone has settled over the centuries and left small passages between itself and the world. The flame straightens again, steady amber in the dark corridor. You continue walking, past the medieval armor standing on its stone plinth in the alcove between the second and third windows, the armor dark. Not the bright polished metal of a sword newly made, the dark metal of something that has been standing in this alcove for longer than anyone working in this building has been alive. Its surface the color of old iron, the moonlight from the window catching one shoulder plate and the side of the visor and nothing else, everything else in shadow. The armor more present for what you cannot see of it than for what you can. Something about the armor makes you slow further, not fear, the opposite of fear, the recognition of something that has been through more than you have and is still standing. That has been in the hands of someone who wore it into situations that would empty the present moment of all its small concerns, and is now here, in an alcove, in a museum, in the dark, as still as the stone around it, as indifferent to the passage of tonight as it is to the passage of every night since it was placed here. Dear traveler, feel what is happening to your walking pace right now. You came into this corridor moving at the pace of the day, the pace of someone who has been in the world all day and is still carrying the world's rhythm in their feet. With each step down this old stone corridor, past these ancient things, that pace has been changing, slowing, matching itself to something, to the pace of this building perhaps, to the pace of objects that have been here for centuries and are in no hurry to be anywhere else. Your feet have found the pace of the museum, which is slow, which is the honest pace of someone who has nowhere left to be tonight except exactly here, moving down this old stone corridor by tallow candle light past 2,000-year-old coins and medieval armor and the moonlight, lying in silver rectangles on the ancient floor, toward the room at the end of the corridor, where the oldest things in this building have been waiting in the dark since the visiting hours ended. The sarcophagus room. You can see the open stone archway at the end of the corridor now. The darkness beyond it deeper than the darkness of the corridor itself. No windows visible from here. No moonlight reaching through from this angle. Simply the archway and the dark beyond it, and the particular quality of that dark, which is not the dark of an empty room, but the dark of a room that is very full of very old things. You have been moving toward it since you picked up the tallow candle from the iron shelf, since the great doors were bolted, since the building became what it becomes when the people have gone. Simply yours, simply this. The old stone corridor beneath your feet, the tallow flame in your hand, the ancient things on either side, and the dark archway at the end of everything, getting closer with every step. You step through the stone archway. The air changes immediately. Not the temperature exactly. Something in the composition of it. The corridor behind you has the air of a passage, of a space designed for moving through. This room has the air of a space designed for staying, for containing. The air here has not been moving in the same way the corridor air moves. It has been sitting in this room, accumulating, taking on the particular quality of a space that holds very old stone and very old silence in a sealed enclosure. The air of the sarcophagus room is the oldest air in this building. You breathe it, and something in you registers this before your mind has formed a single thought about it. Hold the tallow candle up, the small flame illuminating the nearest surfaces. The stone wall immediately to your left. The edge of the first sarcophagus on its plinth just ahead. The floor the same old stone flags as the corridor, but darker here, less worn. Fewer feet have traveled this floor than the corridor outside. The people who come to this room come to stand and look and then return the way they came. They do not walk circuits. They do not pace. They stand before the ancient things and then they leave. You are not leaving. Let your eyes adjust beyond the tallow flame. The room is not as dark as it appeared from the corridor. The high, narrow windows set into the far wall are admitting the moonlight. Not the wide rectangles of the corridor windows. Narrow, precise. 3 of them set high in the old stone wall, their sills deep in the thickness of the ancient masonry. The moonlight coming through them in 3 thin columns of cold silver light that fall across the stone floor of the room at an angle and illuminate whatever they cross. Which is the sarcophagi? 3 of them in this room, each on its own stone plinth, each the work of hands that have been dust for 2,000 years or more. The nearest one directly in the path of the first column of moonlight. The carved stone lid of it illuminated from above in cold silver. The face carved into the lid. A man's face. Or what was intended to be a man's face by the ancient sculptor who worked the stone with tools that are themselves now in a museum somewhere. The features worn by the centuries. The nose barely suggested. The eyes closed. The expression not exactly peaceful. Something beyond peace. The expression of something that has been still for so long that stillness has become its entire nature. You stand before it. The tallow flame in your hand, casting its warm amber onto the stone surface alongside the cold silver of the moonlight. The 2 lights meeting on the carved stone face. The amber of the living flame and the silver of the ancient moon. The face receiving both without preference, as it has received everything that has ever fallen on it across the centuries of its existence. Light and dark, warmth and cold, the attention of the living and the indifference of the empty room. It has outlasted everything that has ever looked at it. Think about that for a moment. Every pair of eyes that has ever stood where you are standing and looked at this carved stone face. Every person in every century since this stone was carved. All of them gone. The stone still here. still carrying the faint suggestion of the face the ancient sculptor put into it, still receiving whatever light falls on it on whatever night it happens to be, still completely indifferent to the passing of any single moment through the long account of its years. Dear traveler, feel what this room is doing to your body. Not suddenly, gradually, the way this room works on everything that enters it. The pace of your breathing has changed since you stepped through the archway. Slower, not consciously. The room has done it. The air of this room. The silence of this room. The presence of these ancient stone things that have been here in this particular darkness for longer than this building has existed. Your body responding to all of it, the way bodies respond to very old things in very quiet places, by slowing, by releasing, by matching itself to the pace of what surrounds it. Move to the second sarcophagus. It stands in the shadow between the first and second columns of moonlight, darker than the first, its carved surface less visible. You bring the tallow candle closer, the amber light falling across the stone lid, this one different from the first. A woman's face carved here, or what the ancient sculptor intended as a woman's face. The features more delicate than the first. The stone around the face carved into the suggestion of hair, arranged in the old way. Flowers, perhaps. Something that was flowers once and is now simply the suggestion of an organic form in ancient stone. The amber light moves across her face as the tallow flame bends slightly. For a moment, the light and shadow shift in a way that makes the carved features seem almost to move. An illusion of the flame. A trick of the moving light on the uneven surface of the ancient stone. And then the flame steadies, and the face is stone again. Simply stone. Simply the work of hands that understood what they were making, and made it as well as they could with the tools and the time they had. Set the tallow candle on the old iron holder on the wall, beside the second sarcophagus. The iron holder set into the mortar between the stone blocks at exactly the right height for a candle to illuminate the room without dazzling the eye. Someone understood this room when they put the holder there. Understood what it needed, and at what height it needed it. The holder dark with age, and with the tallow of many previous candles that have stood in it on many previous nights in this room. The room is yours now. The tallow candle burning its amber on the wall. The 3 columns of moonlight on the floor. The carved stone faces of the 3 sarcophagi, each receiving their portion of the light. The air sitting still and old and full of whatever it is that the air of a room holds. When it has been in the presence of ancient things for long enough, Breathe it in. The cool stone smell of it. Mineral and dry and completely without the warmth that living things give to the air around them. The smell of a room that contains things which have not been alive for 2,000 years. Not an unpleasant smell. Something clarifying about it. Something that puts the present moment in its proper proportion. You are breathing air that has been in the presence of these stones since long before you were born. Since long before anyone you have ever known was born. Since long before the language you think in existed as a language. Walk to the stone bench along the far wall. Old stone, part of the original construction of this room. Not placed here later, built here. Intended from the beginning as the place where whoever is in this room would eventually sit. The bench the same stone as the walls. The same gray, the same age, its surface worn very slightly smooth in the center from the people who have sat on it across the years of this museum's existence. Not the deep concavity of the bench in the rose garden or the inn, simply the faintest smoothing. This bench has not been sat on as many times as those. The sarcophagus room is not where most people choose to rest. But you are not most people tonight. Sit down. The stone cool beneath you. The tallow candle on the wall to your left, giving its amber light to the room. The 3 columns of moonlight on the floor before you. The 3 carved stone faces on their plinths, each visible from where you sit. The first face in full moonlight, the second in the amber of the tallow flame, the third in deep shadow, with only the faintest edge of the 3rd moonlight column touching the corner of its plinth. 3 kinds of light on 3 ancient faces. The room completely silent. The building around this room completely silent. The night outside the building completely silent. You are at the center of 3 silences. The silence of this room. The silence of the museum. The silence of the night. Each one larger than the one before it. Each one holding the one inside it. And you hear at the center of all 3, on this old stone bench, in the tallow light, before the ancient carved faces that have been looking at nothing in particular for 2,000 years, and are looking at nothing in particular now. Or perhaps not nothing. Breathe in. The ancient stone air of the sarcophagus room fills you completely. Breathe out. The tallow flame burns its steady amber on the old wall. Breathe in. The moonlight falls in its 3 cold columns across the old floor. Breathe out. The carved stone faces receive the light as they have always received it. Your hands are in your lap, open. The cool air of the room on your palms. The stone beneath you. the ancient things before you, the silence around you that is not empty but full, full of whatever 2,000 years of existing leaves in the air of the places where it existed, full of the particular weight of very old time pressing gently and completely from every direction. You are not separate from it. You never were. The same earth that made the stone of these sarcophagi made the bones of the body you're sitting in right now. The same ancient processes, the same material. You are not a visitor to what is old. You are made of what is old. Every ancient thing in this room is your relation. Every carved stone face looking out from its plinth in the moonlight and the tallow light is something you recognize at a level deeper than memory, which is why this room does not frighten you, which is why you are still here, which is why the stone bench beneath you feels exactly right, and the air of this room feels exactly right, and the silence feels exactly right, and you have no desire to be anywhere except precisely here, on this bench, in this room, with these ancient things, in this old building, in the deep of this night. The tallow candle has burned lower. You have been in this room long enough for that. Long enough for the tallow to have given a measurable portion of itself to the amber light. That has been filling this room since you set the candle in the old iron holder on the wall. The flame, the same quality of amber it has always been, the same warmth, the same steadiness, simply sitting lower in the iron housing now, the room unchanged around it, the three sarcophagi on their plinths unchanged, the moonlight columns on the floor unchanged, simply the candle shorter than it was, and the room therefore slightly darker at its edges, slightly more itself. The moonlight has shifted, the moon having moved in its slow arc across the sky outside these old stone walls. The three columns of light on the floor no longer where they were when you first sat down on the bench, moved, each one tracking the moon's movement across the night sky outside. The first column now touching the base of the second sarcophagus plinth. The second column crossing the center of the floor between the second and third. The third column gone entirely from the floor and climbing the far wall now. A rectangle of cold silver on the old stone wall instead of the floor. The room rearranging its light around you while you have been sitting still. You have been very still. You may not have noticed how still. The body finding its own stillness in this room, the way bodies find their own temperature in a room that has been the same temperature for a very long time. Simply matching, simply becoming what the room already is. your hands in your lap exactly where you placed them when you sat down, your back against the old stone wall behind the bench, your feet on the cold stone floor, all of it unchanged since you sat, the room having absorbed your stillness into its own, the way old stone absorbs everything it is given. The first carved face is in shadow now, the moonlight column having moved past it. The face that was fully illuminated when you first entered the room, now receiving only the faint ambient light that reaches everywhere. In this room, from the tallow candle and the remaining 2 columns of moonlight, visible still, simply darker, the worn features less distinct, the ancient stone face becoming more suggestion and less detail as the direct light leaves it, as if it is retreating slightly, going further back into whatever it is that old carved stone faces go back into when the light stops finding them. The third face is the most illuminated now, the third column of moonlight having moved to where the third sarcophagus stands in the far corner of the room, the carved lid of it receiving the full cold silver of the moon. This face different from the other 2, older feeling, the stone more worn, the features less defined, not because the sculptor was less skilled, but because more time is passed over this face than the others, more seasons, more temperature change, more of the patient erosion that time performs on everything it touches, given long enough. The face is almost without features now, almost the suggestion of eyes, the suggestion of a mouth, the high plane of a forehead, a chin. Simply the geometry of a human face remaining after the specific features have been worn away. And yet it is the most affecting of the 3, the most present somehow, as if the wearing away of the specific details has left something more essential, as if beneath the features there was always this, simply the form of a face, simply the ancient human shape that the sculptor was always reaching toward through the specific details, and that the centuries have slowly uncovered by removing everything that was particular about it. Dear traveler, look at that third face for a moment. The almost featureless stone in the cold moonlight in the far corner of this ancient room. 2,000 years or more of existing in the world. 2,000 years of light and dark. Of rooms full of people and rooms empty of people. Of candlelight and moonlight and the particular amber of tallow flame. Of silence and sound and silence again. All of that, and still here. Still the shape of a face. Still receiving whatever light falls on it, on whatever night it happens to be. Feel what looking at it does to whatever was left of the urgency of the day. It was already small when you entered this room, smaller still when you sat on this bench and breathed the ancient air. Now, looking at this face that has outlasted everything that has ever felt urgent to anyone who ever stood before it, there is simply nothing left of it. The urgency of the day cannot exist in the same space as 2,000 years of stone stillness. One of them displaces the other, and stone stillness is the larger thing. Your shoulders have dropped completely. You notice this now. The way you notice things in deep quiet, when the body has been doing something slowly and without announcement, and it has finally completed itself. Your shoulders flat, the muscles of your neck loose. The small persistent tightness that lives behind your eyes on long days simply gone. Not pushed away, dissolved. The way a thing dissolves when it has been in the presence of something large enough and patient enough and old enough to put it in its proper proportion, which is very small, which is what the urgent things of any single day actually are in the presence of 2,000 years of stone. A building makes a sound, somewhere distant, the old timber of the upper floors responding to the temperature change of the deep night. A single low creak, the sound traveling through the old structure from wherever it originated to here, arriving in this room as something barely audible, something that is less a sound than a reminder that you are inside something, that the stone around you is part of a building, that the building breathes and settles and speaks in the night in the language of old timber and old mortar, and the slow movement of ancient things finding their equilibrium in the cold hours. The sound stops, the silence returns, deeper than before, as silence always is after a sound that has not disturbed it, but simply marked its depth. The tallow candle is very low now, burning at the very bottom of the iron housing. The pool of tallow around the base of the wick small, what remains of it giving the same quality of light it has always given. No dimming, no flickering, simply burning what it has left with the same faithfulness it burned the rest. The amber of it very warm against the cold silver of the remaining moonlight columns. The two lights in the room, the warm and the cold, the old tallow flame that will not last the night, and the moonlight that has been crossing the sky above this building since before this building existed. Both of them present, both of them yours. Look at your hands in your lap, the tallow light on one side of them, the faint moonlight on the other, both lights touching the same hands, the hands that have been working since this morning, that have been doing what hands do through the long hours of a day in the world outside this building. They are open now, in your lap, on the cool stone of this bench. In this room that contains things that were made by hands 2,000 years before yours existed. Your hands. Their hands. The same material. The same ancient earth. The same impulse to make something. To hold something. To reach for what is needed and release what is not. They released everything tonight in this room without being asked, without any effort on your part, simply in the presence of things that have been here longer than any urgency you will ever feel, and will be here after every urgency you will ever feel has dissolved into the same patient, nothing that all urgent things eventually dissolve into. Breathe in. The ancient stone air is all there is. Breathe out. The tallow flame burns its very last amber. Breathe in. The moonlight moves its cold and patient way across the old floor. Breathe out. The 3 stone faces receive the night as they have always received it. Something has been happening since you sat down on this bench. Something that does not announce itself. That does not ask permission. That simply happens in the presence of very old things, in very deep quiet, at the very deepest hour of a night, in an ancient building sealed against the world. Outside, the last remaining tension of the day finishing its slow release. The last thought that needed to go through finding its way through and not returning. The last piece of the waking world letting go of its grip on you and simply ceasing. You are aware of the bench beneath you, the wall at your back, the ancient air around you, the 3 stone faces in their moonlight and their shadow, the tallow flame at the edge of your vision burning its very last. And then you are aware of less than before, and then less than that. The room still there, the ancient things still there, the moonlight still crossing the old floor in its slow and faithful way, and you becoming very still, stiller than you have been, stiller than the bench beneath you needs you to be, simply still, the way the stone is still, the way the ancient night outside these old walls is still, the way everything in this room that has been here for 2,000 years is simply completely unshakably still. The tallow candle goes out, not with any drama, simply the tallow finished, the flame finding nothing left to burn and ceasing. The darkness that takes its place is not sudden. The room still has the moonlight. The 2 remaining columns of cold silver on the floor, the rectangle of moonlight on the far wall, the ambient glow that the moon gives to stone walls when it has been in a room long enough for the stone to have absorbed it and be giving it back. The room darker than it was with the tallow. Not dark, simply the room in its true light, which is moonlight, which is what this room has been lit by on every night for every year of this building's existence when the tallow ran out, and the moon was up, and the ancient things in here received whatever the moon had to give and went on existing in it, without any particular preference for one light over another. You are still on the bench, but your body has been telling you something since the candle went out, or perhaps before the candle went out. Perhaps since the deep of the night settled fully into this room, and the moonlight columns moved to where they are now, and the building made its single low sound and returned to silence. Your body has been telling you in the language of bone and muscle and the heaviness of limbs that have been still long enough that stillness has become their nature, that the bench is not where tonight ends. Move to the floor, not the cold stone of the open floor, the space between the bench and the first sarcophagus plinth, a narrow space, enclosed on one side by the old stone bench and on the other by the ancient plinth. The floor here the same old stone flags as the rest of the room, but here something has been placed, a folded length of old dark wool, heavy, left here on the floor between the bench and the plinth as the tallow candle was left on the iron shelf, by the same understanding, by whoever tends this building and knows what it needs and provides for those needs quietly and without ceremony. The wool is for the stone floor, for exactly this hour. Lower yourself onto it. The old wool beneath you thick enough that the stone floor is present below it, but not immediate, not pressing, simply there. The foundation beneath the foundation, your back on the wool, your head on the folded edge of it, the old stone bench to your left rising above you, the ancient plinth of the first sarcophagus to your right, the two stone things on either side of you like the banks of a narrow river, enclosing, not trapping, the opposite of trapping, the particular safety of being between two ancient solid things that have no interest in moving. Look straight up, the ceiling of the sarcophagus room above you, stone, high, the same gray as everything else in this room in the moonlight, the old ceiling beams crossing it at intervals. Dark ancient timbers set into the stone of the walls on either side. The timber older than the museum, older than whatever building stood here before the museum. Simply old beams doing the work old beams do, holding the ceiling, holding the roof, holding the weight of everything above this room in their dark and centuries-old way, without any acknowledgement and without any need of it. The moonlight comes through the narrow windows above you at an angle, not falling on you directly, falling on the floor to your right, on the base of the first plinth, on the feet of the carved stone figure on the sarcophagus lid above the plinth. You can see the feet from here, the carved stone toes, the draped stone fabric around the ankles. The detail in the carving visible from this angle, it is not visible when you are standing before it. The angle of the lying down revealing what the angle of the standing conceals. 2,000-year-old feet above you in the moonlight. The feet of someone who lived a complete life, who woke on mornings and slept on nights, and carried things and put things down and walked on roads that do not exist anymore, toward places that do not exist anymore, and arrived and rested and woke again. All of that life, complete, and now simply these feet, in stone, in the moonlight, above you, patient and still, and asking absolutely nothing. Breathe in. The ancient stone air descends into you. Breathe out. The old wool is warm beneath your back. Breathe in. The moonlight is on the carved stone feet above you. Breathe out. The building holds its deep and ancient silence. The floor is warmer than you expected. Not warm exactly. Less cold than stone should be at this hour of the night. The old flags having held something from the day in their depth and giving it back now through the wool into your back. The same deep stored warmth you felt in the walls of the medieval inn, in the stone of the farmhouse. Stone holds warmth the way it holds everything, long, thoroughly, honestly, without exaggeration and without withholding, simply holding what it is given and returning it slowly when the cold comes. The cold has come tonight, and the old stone floor is giving back what it held. To you, your eyes are fully closed now. The moonlight still presents beyond your eyelids as a faint cold luminescence, not bright enough to prevent anything, simply present, the way the moonlight in this room is simply present, the way everything in this room is simply present, the stone, the ancient things, the 2,000-year-old feet in the moonlight above you, the old bench at your left, the plinth at your right, the ceiling above, the museum around this room, the old city or the old countryside outside the museum walls, the ancient night above all of it present, none of it requiring anything. The silence of this room has become something physical. You can feel it, not as the absence of sound, as a presence, a weight, the kind of weight that presses very gently from every direction simultaneously and is not oppressive, but is the opposite of oppressive. The weight of something that holds you rather than burdens you. The weight of 2,000 years of quiet in a room that has always been a quiet room, of the accumulated stillness of every night. This museum has been sealed against the world, and the ancient things in it have been allowed to simply be what they are in the dark. You are inside that accumulated stillness now, on this old wool, on this old stone floor, between this old bench and this ancient plinth. In this old room, in this old building, while the night outside does what nights do, and the moon crosses what the moon crosses, and the ancient carved faces on their plinths receive the shifting light, as they have received every shifting light of every night since they were placed here. Dear traveler, feel the full weight of your body on this ancient floor, the back of your head on the folded wool, your shoulders flat, your spine released from every curve the day put into it, your legs straight and heavy, your feet still, every part of you horizontal on the old stone floor of a museum sarcophagus room at the deepest hour of the night. This is not where you expected to sleep tonight, and it is exactly right. Your hands are open at your sides on the old wool, open the way the carved stone hands on the sarcophagus lids are open. The hands of the ancient figures not gripping anything, not preparing for anything, simply open, in the old way of depicting rest that the ancient sculptors understood. That open hands mean finished. That open hands mean given. That open hands mean there is nothing left that needs holding, and nothing coming that needs to be held against. Your hands in the same position, the same ancient meaning, everything given, nothing held. The old building breathes its cold breath around you. The ancient things keep their patient company above you and beside you, and in the room that contains you, and in the building that contains the room. 2,000 years of existing in the world around a single night of yours. Your night inside their centuries. Your rest inside their endless stillness. One small, warm, living thing in the center of a very large and very old quiet, held by it, as the earth holds everything that rests on it, without preference, without condition, without any awareness of the difference between what is ancient and what is new. Simply holding, the moonlight moves. The ancient faces receive it. The old floor holds you. The building breathes. And you are already somewhere deeper than this room can follow. Already in the oldest dark. Already where the stone has always been. Already still. Already home. Sleep now. The museum is sealed. The night is yours. There is nothing more required of you tonight. The ancient things in this room have been still for 2,000 years. Tonight their stillness is yours. You are allowed to release everything. The old stone floor is holding you from below. The carved faces are keeping their patient watch above. There is no urgency that 2,000 years cannot put in its place. You are made of the same ancient earth as everything in this room. The building is breathing its cold breath around you. You are not separate from what is old. You have always belonged to the ancient quiet. There is nothing left to solve in this room tonight. The moonlight is moving across the old stone floor. You do not need to watch it move. The old wool is warm beneath you. The ancient walls are holding the night outside completely. You are enough. You have always been enough. The stone bench is beside you in the dark. The ancient plinth is beside you on the other side. You are held between two things that do not move. There is rest in every slow breath you take. The museum has been keeping old things safe for longer than you can imagine. Tonight, it is keeping you. You are already becoming as still as the stone around you. There is nothing left in this day that was not already finished. The ancient night is patient and enormous and completely yours. You are already drifting into the oldest dark. The stone holds you as it has always held everything given to it. You are loved. You are held. You are home. The museum is sealed. The night is yours. There is nothing more required of you tonight. The ancient things in this room have been still for 2,000 years. Tonight their stillness is yours. You are allowed to release everything. The old stone floor is holding you from below. The carved faces are keeping their patient watch above. There is no urgency that 2,000 years cannot put in its place. You are made of the same ancient earth as everything in this room. The building is breathing its cold breath around you. You are not separate from what is old. You have always belonged to the ancient quiet. There is nothing left to solve in this room tonight. The moonlight is moving across the old stone floor. You do not need to watch it move. The old wool is warm beneath you. The ancient walls are holding the night outside completely. You are enough. You have always been enough. The stone bench is beside you in the dark. The ancient plinth is beside you on the other side. You are held between two things that do not move. There is rest in every slow breath you take. The museum has been keeping old things safe for longer than you can imagine. Tonight, it is keeping you. You are already becoming as still as the stone around you. There is nothing left in this day that was not already finished. The ancient night is patient and enormous, and completely yours. You are already drifting into the oldest dark. The stone holds you as it has always held everything given to it. You are loved. You are held. You are home. The museum is sealed. The night is yours. There is nothing more required of you tonight. The ancient things in this room have been still for 2,000 years. Tonight their stillness is yours. You are allowed to release everything. The old stone floor is holding you from below. The carved faces are keeping their patient watch above. There is no urgency that 2,000 years cannot put in its place. You are made of the same ancient earth as everything in this room. The building is breathing its cold breath around you. You are not separate from what is old. You have always belonged to the ancient quiet. There is nothing left to solve in this room tonight. The moonlight is moving across the old stone floor. You do not need to watch it move. The old wool is warm beneath you. The ancient walls are holding the night outside completely. You are enough. You have always been enough. The stone bench is beside you in the dark. The ancient plinth is beside you on the other side. You are held between two things that do not move. There is rest in every slow breath you take. The museum has been keeping old things safe for longer than you can imagine. Tonight, it is keeping you. You are already becoming as still as the stone around you. There is nothing left in this day that was not already finished. The ancient night is patient and enormous and completely yours. You are already drifting into the oldest dark. The stone holds you as it has always held everything given to it. You are loved. You are held. You are home.